Greetings, brothers and sisters. Bunch of stuff sent to me by my viewers, starting with Hillary J. Clinton, Nancy J. Pelosi, and Island J. Boy. Three Instagram things. Then some other stuff. There's some Kanye West developments as there was going to be. Hilarious MSNBC has an open house turn against them. And I might get to a follow-up from my other channel about Taylor Swift. I also want to talk about Alec Baldwin. So this guy died, and if you go to my other channel today, the Pac Laughs Now channel, there's all kinds of connections between Alec Baldwin, this guy, and there's a goat reference and Skull and Bones, all this stuff, weird things that are connected, at least in terms of my coverage of this. And, Alec was friends with this guy. This guy posted here a comment on the anniversary of Alec killing his cinematographer. And then Alec was in Syracuse. There's a whole connection there, which I talked about. And then Alec had talked about how he loved Anne Heche. And this guy and Anne Heche both died running into buildings. But it's a lot more detailed than that. So you can check out my video I put up today from Apocalypse Now. It's just a cross-reference. I don't want to cover it twice. So that's actually yesterday's video on my Apocalypse Now channel. It has Alec Baldwin in the title. I didn't get this video done yesterday. I had a big project I was doing outdoor in our homestead. And then I had to make dinner, and I was just kind of spent. I was going to try to get this video done, but I didn't have enough time. So I've added some things. I'm going to cover the John Fetterman thing on my other channel because that's hilarious. So that'll be on my other channel as well today. But let's get to the Hillary J. Clinton because this is epic. Well, first of all, oh my God, she's taken Ghoul to another level. I think she was ghoulish in 2016. I mean, before it, but during the election. But look at her. Wow. She's really ghouling it up.
Hello, Indivisibles. I'm here to highlight something that is keeping me up at night.
Your boner? I don't know. What is it? That's my guess.
And I know this group really understands what I'm about to say. I know we're all focused on the 2022 midterm elections.
Not all of us.
And they are incredibly important.
They are. It's the soul of the nation kind of thing.
But we also have to look ahead. Because you know what? Our opponents certainly are.
Our opponents are. They're looking ahead. We don't usually look ahead, but they do. They actually look at the future and say, hey, let's look ahead into the future. We're always dwelling on the past, like in 2016, how I was robbed of my presidency, like that kind of thing.
Right-wing extremists already have a plan.
There they are, the right-wing extremists. They have a plan. They have a conspiracy. They're conspiring right now.
To literally steal the next presidential election.
No way. Kablawi, look at this Ghoul talk.
And they're not making a secret of it.
They're not making a secret of it. They're conspiring right out there in front of everybody.
The right-wing controlled Supreme Court may be poised to rule on giving state legislatures, yes, you heard me that.
She heard me that.
Correctly. State legislatures the power to overturn presidential elections.
No way. That's going to happen. State legislatures are going to be able to overturn the presidential election. Somebody get some toothpicks and prop those Weekend at Bernie's eyelids up because she's a walking cadaver.
Just think, if that happens, the 2024 presidential election could be decided not by the popular vote or even by the anachronistic electoral college.
Because she won the popular vote, right? Remember that. She won the popular vote. She had twice as much money as Trump and all the media except for Fox. And yet, the Russians rigged it with their Russia Today and the whole fake news thing.
But by state legislatures, many of them Republican controlled.
No way. They're going to steal it. They're conspiring to steal.
But there's
Stop the steal.
also good news in the face of this very real threat to democracy.
What is it? Your boner?
Indivisible has launched Crush the Coup to make sure we're ready to defend democracy in 2024.
Boom, indivisible.
They've put together a list of critical races in
And they're checking it twice, these critical races.
6 key states and how you can get involved. Will you support Crush the Coup by donating to indivisible and state legislature candidates? Each of these races is highly competitive, and your dollars could very well decide the winners.
Wow, your dollars. Give your dollars right now. Give your dollars to this Ghoul, and they'll stop the steal and stop the coup.
And the winner of the next presidential election. This could not be more important or more urgent.
Boom. It's important and urgent. Listen to this Ghoul. She doesn't lie about things like that. So that was a conspiracy she was just talking about, that the Republicans are conspiring to warp and change the system so that they can steal the elections, crush the coup. Stop the steal, so crush the coup. And she's been a conspiracy theorist for a very long time. Let's review these. This one conspiracy she was always talking about.
The great story here, for anybody willing to find it and write about it and explain it, is this vast right-wing conspiracy that has been conspiring against my husband since the day he announced for president.
Geez, were you ever young? Did you ever have a childhood? But anyways, so she pushed this conspiracy theory against the Republicans. The Republicans were conspiring against her husband. And then she doubled down here.
You mentioned attacks on the early 90s. Right. Do you still believe there's a vast right-wing conspiracy?
Don't you?
I'm asking you.
What a delightful laugh, right? I wonder why you were never elected.
I'm asking you.
Yeah, it's gotten even better funded. They brought in some new multi-billionaires to pump the money in. And look, these guys play for keeps.
These Republicans conspirers, they play for keeps. They don't play for not keeping. When they play, they keep what they play for. When you go to Vegas and use your money and they go, hey, you can have your money back. We don't play for keeps.
They want to control our country. Senator Sanders and I agree on that completely. They want to rig the economy so they continue to get richer and richer. They could care less about income inequality. They solve their consciences by giving big money to philanthropy and, getting great pictures of them standing in front of whatever charity they donated to. But make no mistake, they want to destroy unions. They want to go after any economic interests that they don't believe they can control.
So she's a conspiracy theorist, right? And there's other ones. I did a whole video on this a long time ago. I don't know where it is, but I had a bunch of these clips. She's always talking about conspiracies. And then, of course, post-election, the Russians conspired against her and all the conspiracies to rob her of the election, even the outdated electoral process, right? The electoral votes. So she's a big-time conspiracy theorist. But it's okay. Like, no one ever calls her out. I mean, maybe Fox, I don't know, whatever. But they don't call her out on her conspiracies, right? The same verbiage, the same language is being used by the Stop the Steal people as the Crush the Coup people. It's the same stuff. But only one group gets to be able to say that, right? If you come up with a conspiracy, you're crazy. You're a crazy conspiracy theorist. Hillary Clinton's been doing it for years. And now they've warped the system in such a way with social media and the media and, all of it, the corporations, all pushing for a one-sided agenda, which is disastrous because it's pushing people to the right. Whether, they admit it or not, there's lots of Democrats who are being pushed to the right. People are leaving left states. Democrats are leaving left states because you can't have it this unfair, right? You can't have it where one side gets to do something and the other side doesn't. And then people like us who are truthers, who are neither on neither side, and we're crazy conspiracy theorists because we don't buy into these ridiculous lies, right? And there was this. Remember this? This is what she said about Gaddafi.
No, it's so, I mean, that is the land of unconfirmed reports.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No, oh, I'm sure it did.
They destroyed Libya. Libya is not, anything like it was. It was on its way up. The UN even said it. I've covered it so much here. And, she's joking about the suffering of an entire country based in lies, based in, an illegal UN-sponsored war. And, I mean, this is a horrible human being, right? And, for her to laugh about it, like callously laugh, because it isn't just Gaddafi, who was considered a good leader by his people. He was well loved by his people, not like her. Nobody liked her, right? I mean, she had, some delusional fans who liked the idea of her. But everyone, everything I've heard about her, in private, she's one of the nastier people even in private. But she is, celebrated. Like, can you imagine that she's celebrated in our country? And speaking of which, let's go to Nancy.
The best thing that we can do for our economy is to have comprehensive immigration reform. We have a shortage of workers in our country, and you see even in Florida, some of the farmers and the growers saying, why are you shipping these immigrants?
I think the word you were looking for there, Nancy, was slaves. Shipping them, right? Like they're, livestock. Like she's, supposed to be a people person, like a liberal. One of my viewers sent me this, and it came in like right after the Hillary Clinton thing.
North, we need them to pick the crops down here.
What?
Don't ship them to the elitist island of Martha's Vineyard in, was it Massachusetts or is it New Hampshire? I don't know. It's one of these New England states. Don't ship them there. We need them to pick the crops in Florida. And not knowing, like, having no sense of what she's saying there.
This is Dr. Hussein. We're here with Island Boy.
You're here with Island Boy? Island Boy. I'm an Island Boy. I used to be boys. Now I'm a boy. Did he say Dr. Insane or Dr. Hussein?
And he's going to tell us what he wants done with his nose.
Basically, I want to fix the deviation and also bring the bridge, like the reduction, bring the bump down.
So I'm looking at him right now, and I think these are very reasonable goals. We can see when we look at him, if you come from the side, he's got a little bit of a dorsal hump right there. So that dorsal hump is
First time I saw the Island Boys, I said, there are a couple of dorsal humps.
going to be shaved down. If you come from the front, you can see he's actually got a deviation. His nose kind of deviates. You can actually feel it on the inside and look on the inside. His cartilage is kind of S-curved. So we're going to correct that. And if he leans back, you can see his ala here are asymmetric.
Maybe that's their problem. They have asymmetric ala. One of my viewers sent me this thing.
So the way we're going to correct this is we're going to make a little V incision on the columella, then make incision on the inside of the nose. We're going to actually pull up the nose like the hood of a trunk and take...
Like a hood of a trunk sounds like... sounds like a great procedure. They're going to peel it like a hood of a trunk, except there's no working engine inside.
Out in this hump, we're going to take some cartilage from inside the nose. We're going to use that cartilage to reconstruct the rest of the nose, including building a strut here, possibly putting in some grafts over here, possibly some...
Who do you think you're talking to? There's, the Island Boy fans, the average IQ is probably about 70, 80, I don't know what it is, right? People who are actual fans of the Island Boys. But then there's the Island Boy mockers. Like, who's listening to this going, I know what this guy's talking about, right? Like, why don't you just present a paper on physics? Like, their whole claim to fame is they say, oh, the Island Boys, or Island Boys. It's got cameo, Island Boys, right? That's there. And stop playing. They say stop playing. That's their two things, right?
grafts here, and sometimes we'll actually do osteotomies, which is breaking the bone on the sides and making the nose narrow. So the goals of this rhinoplasty will be, he feels like the nose is maybe a little too large for his face. We're going to make a smaller nose for the face, hump reduction, nasal osteotomies, cartilage harvest. We're going to
Dr. Miami Beach about to tap in. Stop playing. Kodiak Red. Kanye West donates $2 million, pays college tuition for George Floyd's daughter. But that isn't enough, apparently. The mom wants $250 million because he said something that, about fentanyl. Candace Owens said she's going to sue the family for harassing her, so all that's happening. More Kanye West stuff coming. But anyways, Hobby Lobby founder David Green giving away company because he chose God. And so he's 80. His net worth is valued at $13 billion. So I don't know what that means for his kids. But, whatever.
Doug Mastriano was at the insurrection, and he was photographed breaching one of the restricted areas.
These are Republicans.
Is that okay?
Which area?
So that's her level of, let's watch that again. That's her level of reporting. I'm not going to talk about the whole event here. I'm not, just because of YouTube and whatever. But this is her reporting, and watch how she gets rolled by these, well-informed. And again, I'm not a Republican, not a Trump person, not voting. I don't vote. I believe it's a left-right paradigm. I believe both sides are controlled. But the left has gone kind of, nuts. And they have this young reporter who has no idea. She thinks that she's, I just suppose she thinks that she's so right. She actually believes in what she's doing. And she thinks that if she gives these points to these people, they're just going to fold and they're dumb, ignorant Republicans, right? And she's an educated liberal, and she's going to liberal-splain.
Doug Mastriano was at the insurrection, and he was photographed breaching one of the restricted areas. Is that okay?
Which area? Because I saw a video where Capitol officers were taking away barriers and unlocking
Opening
doors. For people. So,
They opened the gates.
So it shouldn't be disqualifying for an elected official.
No.
So she's up against a lot of people here who are, they have a totally different level of information. I mean, this is what's happened in America. I've talked about that for all of us. We have a different authority. We believe, the people who are sheeple, the people who are in the government, the people who are in the media, they use the official story, what YouTube calls authoritative news. And they believe in that authority. And they use that authority to say, we're right and you're wrong. This is the truth. What we believe is the truth because we're the authority. Is it the Jungle Book where the monkeys are like, we must be right because we said so, or something like that. I don't remember the exact quote, but it's one of those Rudyard Kipling books or whatever. But anyways, this is not going to go her way, right?
If they participated in January 6th?
He didn't strike anybody. He didn't hurt anybody.
And the only one that died was a protester there, not a Capitol Police
Unarmed
officer.
female veteran was
That's
shot
the only
by
one that
police.
died.
That's the only one who died.
A police officer did die.
No,
He
it
died
was
of
a
heart attack.
stroke.
That's
not on site.
Caused by that. That's because
Right.
he shouldn't have been a police officer. It was one woman.
So
who
what do
shot.
you make, though, overall of January 6th?
So I don't know what they hope to gain here, MSNBC. They didn't, vet these people very well because they have answers and they have what they believe to be the facts, right?
I mean, it was watching that footage. It was pretty disturbing. I mean, there were people throwing excrement at the walls, and it was it's the Capitol.
I didn't see the excrement throwing. It's pretty disturbing. That was so disturbing.
It looked a lot like Antifa's actions to me.
except on a much smaller scale, it looked the same as the Black Lives Matter riots.
That's what I saw the similarities to
around the
be.
country, not just
Minneapolis
one.
burns, Kenosha burns,
But so it's okay
Waukesha
just because
burns.
one side that you
No,
disagree with?
I'm
it's
saying
okay
Antifa
for-
infiltrated.
So she has lost control of this thing, right? You know, I've run group therapies before. I used to be a counselor. And, you know, I was supposed to have staff in the room with me, like residential staff. I was working at treatment centers. I ran groups in different settings, but in the treatment centers with adolescent sex offenders who are, you know, many of them came from very difficult families and they were very tough in terms of being clients and didn't want to work on their treatment. And, you know, you can lose control of the group, right? And, you know, because the group can turn on you, right?
For one, it's good for the other.
Anybody
I don't
who
see it
harmed
that way.
anybody who caused property destruction, that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah,
but if
on
you're there
either
making
side.
your voice heard at the
Right.
people's house, no less,
Yeah.
that's, again, it's a fundamental constitutional right of an American citizen. And people should not be being held political prisoner because of it.
For misdemeanors. That's East Germany.
Misdemeanors.
That's East Germany.
Tactics.
Yeah, that's what's scary.
It was an actual fiery but mostly peaceful protest. And the other ones that were the opposite.
Was the protest legitimate in
See, she's changed her tune, and she's calling it a protest instead of an insurrection, right? What the media and the Democrats have done is they keep on calling it an insurrection. And you're supposed to believe that, right? You're supposed to feel outraged, according to the media that nobody watches, and the politicians that nobody believes, and the reporters that nobody has respect for. And again, I don't care about any of it, right? I think Trump got completely worked and all of it, right? You know, I'm in the editing process, so I want to restate this. But, you know, Trump got worked and owned, and he fell into a trap. Like, they set a trap for him, and they've been using this against him. They've been beating him and the Republicans with this whole insurrection thing. And they're going to use it for the rest of the, you know, for a very long time. As an excuse, like, you know, it's victim consciousness, right? They do these things. Everyone wants to be the victim so they can claim outrage and then grab power, grab whatever it is. I mean, the Republicans do it too. And Trump fell into it. He did the whole thing with Operation Warp Speed, all of it. Like, he just got worked that whole last year. And embarrassing. He, like, embarrassed himself. The Republicans don't see it. And the Democrats are, you know, using this word insurrection. But listen to her in the beginning. She says insurrection, and then she changes it to protest.
was at the insurrection? And was the protest legitimate in
And this is what I was saying about Hillary Clinton, because the liberals own the social media and they can ban people and they can force, you know, this is where it's a one-sided type situation. And again, that doesn't mean I like the right. It just means that you can see that there's a binary system here, and one system is being empowered. One side of this equation, one oppositional force, is being empowered because they've used this word insurrection, and that's the word they've pushed. It's a talking point. But this girl, she's with, you know, a bunch of Republicans who are, you know, they're well-spoken on their worldview. I don't agree with their worldview on this thing. But they, you know, they're able to articulate their point of view, and she's been changed. Like, she started off with insurrection, and now she's calling it a protest, right? You know, I mean, the whole thing is hilarious because they just don't understand. Like, there's this demonization of the right, and they just are like, well, she's like this in this thing where when you become a truther, I mean, I think she believes in the rhetoric. She's young enough and, you know, whatever. Like, a lot of them are cynical and they know it's all BS. But she believes it, and she thought she could convince these people and that they would be, you know, these dopey, like, you know, tobacco-chewing rednecks or whatever it was, and, you know, like, really stupid and just being played by Trump. And they have, you know, a completely different worldview, different source of information. And they're bringing things up that's been, some of it's been documented, some of it's factual. It's, you know, on video. And now she's been reversed, right? Where she thought she was going to get them to cave on their beliefs. She's gone from her talking point of insurrection, to saying, no, it was a protest, right? Because that's like, this is the cult thing, right? This is the Stockholm syndrome, where people will, in the face of the group think, the group mentality, will reverse themselves, will join in. They'll be very staunch in their beliefs about one side of the thing, but then they're surrounded by other group of people. It just takes about a week to be in a group, and you start taking on the group's lingo, the group's beliefs. I mean, that's how human beings fold into something else, right? It can happen really quickly. Here she's in this group, and she's already starting to get away from her programming and her worldview. Instead of calling it insurrection, she's calling it a protest.
Your eyes,
Administration,
because
I feel like, is using it as their Reichstag fire.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're using it as.
Mm-hmm.
do you think that President Trump could have quelled the violence that day?
Not him personally.
I don't think
No.
so, no.
I don't think so.
It started while he was still speaking. I was actually there. I was there to see what I thought was going to be the last time I ever saw Trump, little did I know.
So did he tell everybody to go and start rioting?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, and
I heard the speech, and he did say peaceful, but the rest of it, he wound people up, and he sent them down the Capitol. I showed the clips. I mean, Trump is not blameless in this thing. He, walked into this trap like a true buffoon. He trumped it, right? So these guys are Trump fans. But even with that, right, it's, this girl is getting worked even with their, the way that they're viewing this.
actually, I stayed for the whole speech, like a ton of people did.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all headed to the Capitol because he said, let's go to the Capitol and peacefully let our voices
keyword.
be heard.
That's what angry women.
And we get to the Capitol and we're like, what the hell's going on? Because it had already happened.
I'm pretty sure I saw Democratic operatives instigating people to cross barriers.
So this is Morning Joe. But anyways, that woman was having none of it, right? She had attitude from the get-go, and she was having none of it. Anger on their minds. NBC poll finds skyrocket interest in polarization ahead of midterms. 80% of Democrats and Republicans believe the political opposition poses a threat that, if not stopped, will destroy America as we know it. So it's on, right? It's over when that happens, which I've known for a while. There's no, coming back from this. There's a civil war in people's families, right? There's a divide in people's families. And everybody who's, whether they're celebrities, whether they're news media people or politicians or athletes, or everybody's in the show has contributed to the demonization of the other side and, all of this stuff that's happening. Meghan Markle admits she can be particular, slams angry black woman myth. She's particular. Jay's Cordon admits he's wrong. I covered that on my other channel. And Adidas drops Kanye West from anti-Semitic comments. Haley Bieber condemns Kanye West's anti-Semitic rant after nose job diss. I'll have to cover these things as well. I'll cover the Meghan Markle thing tomorrow. Haley Bieber condemns Kanye West's anti-Semitic rant after nose job diss. You cannot believe in God and be anti-Semitic. You cannot love God and support or condone hate speech, the model wrote. To love God is to love people, all people. Well, none of that is true. You can believe in God and be a hateful person. You can believe in God and go against God's will. You can be, the devil believes in God, right? Like, she's too dopey to talk about God. Her and Justin Bieber claim to be Christians. And, some of the things that Kanye said are being taken out of context, right? Because when he said, and he clarified this in interviews, when he said that he was going to go, what was it, Scorched Earth, whatever he said, he was going to go DEFCON 5 or whatever. He was meaning he was going to say things. he wasn't meaning it as being violent. He was going to say things. And again, I mean, obviously him saying it that way, the media was going to take it and run with it. Like him saying it the way he said it. I mean, you don't say something that you're going to go DEFCON 5 on a demographic, a protected demographic, and then go to bed. You know, I'm too tired, but tomorrow I'm going DEFCON 5 on a protected group. You know, of course there's going to be a reaction. And maybe he was looking for that reaction, who knows, with Kanye. But she's a real dope. To love God is to love people, all people. Well, kind of, right? If you love God, you love the God in everybody, but you're dealing with egos, so that's something different, right? If you love God, you love God in people. Adidas terminates relationship with Kanye West after pressure to cut ties over anti-Semitic comments. Their relationship was already scorched. Netflix will not remove Kanye West's documentary Genius amid anti-Semitic rants. They're all still calling him Kanye, even though he's been very specific about being called Ye. Kim Kardashian enjoys Halloween outing with kids amid Kanye West scandal. And there's a peace sign, or is it this? So this is the oldest kid, and this kid's funny. Remember, he was calling all her Instagram followers idiots and something in some video. But she slapped some devil's horns on him, and she also claims to be a Christian. And so, I'll talk about that at the end of this thing. But there's lots of people who really look forward to Halloween because they really let their demonic side out. And her favorite emoji is the devil horns one. I think I have a picture of it somewhere. If I do, I'll put it right here. And she loves the devil's horns, right? Can't wait to stick devil's horns on her kids. Okay, so this is day 2. I'm going to add some things to this video because I didn't get it done yesterday. And this was something somebody told me about yesterday, and I didn't have it. I remembered it this morning. I'm going to cover the John Fetterman on my other channel. I was going to cover it here, but it's definitely a dropping like fly kind of a thing. If you saw that debate, that's great. So this is about Khloe Kardashian, the big one.
Can you imagine being haunted by the Kardashians?
Yeah, I think pretty much. I think that's what's going on here. These gaggle of witches here, these Babylonian hoes.
Epic. Kim asked the doctor to save her my bones so she can make jewelry out of it.
Like what kind?
That's weird. It's creepy.
Remember when you wanted your ashes, you wanted to be cremated and made into necklaces
That's
for
a
us?
great idea.
That's a great idea. Put your ashes in necklaces and wear her ashes around your neck. Because that's a great idea. The bones thing, crazy. Weird, but...
That's weird.
No, it's not.
Treatment if she's incapacitated.
My family and I, we talk about wills, death. We tell each other what our wishes would be.
Wow, that's great. I bet those conversations are epic. Can we listen to that? Because
If something terrible were to happen, if I'm in a coma, I'm still getting my nails done once a week.
Exactly. Get your nails done, MNFer. The big one wants her nails done.
And that's in my will, because people are going to visit me.
Yep, there it is. The big one right there. Towering over the other ladies. Ladies.
Since there are so many members of the famous fam, Kris wants all of them to be interred together after they pass away. But Khloe lays down a few hard lines regarding her last wishes.
Kylie, remember we were going to go pick out our mausoleum?
Yeah, I don't,
Do you know how many kids we have? How are we
that's
we need
what
a
I
whole
said. Exactly.
all
we'll
of
have
Hidden
a whole
Hills.
thing.
Well, I think we need to say, only this many generations are.
Okay, well, it's just going to be a celebration. You're going to need a place for people to dance and urinate on your graves, right?
Allowed in here.
It's like a club. Nope, you're not on the list.
That's why I think if we all get cremated, you're like dust to dust. You're one with the earth. But if we're all getting buried, and then what happens if like if Disneyland's like, I have all this money, I could buy that place, and they just start building on top of things.
I would love to be at the base of the Matterhorn.
People are always like,
Okay. She wants to be at the base of the Matterhorn. That's the Kardashians. So I covered this. I just want to briefly cover this whole thing about Halloween. That the oldest one who married the Blink-82 guy or whatever it was, she got criticized for putting dead bodies or fake dead bodies all over her lawn and overdoing it for Halloween. Apparently they love Halloween. Her mom said, imagine being haunted by the Kardashians. And then she got into, what to do with their bones, this morbid sort of fascination with death and like all this stuff, right? And, Kim Kardashian's favorite emoji or favorite filter is this thing that turns her into devil's horns. She's got devil's horns on her kid. And there's just something witch-like, right? It's the dyed jet black hair that they wear, and there's just something like, a gaggle of witches, right? Like, what do they call it? A coven. And there's a fascination. There's lots of people who Halloween's their favorite holiday. And it's my least favorite holiday for a couple of reasons. I liked it when I was a kid, but now, it's my ex's birthday, and it was always a challenge with my kids. And, it sucks when somebody's birthday is on a holiday, and especially when it falls on your shoulders to make everybody happy, right? But I realized it was a fascination with, death and evil. And it's things that people want to do, like a costume party, or there's things that people want to do, but it's not socially acceptable. But then you have this one night a year, it's like a purge-like night, where you get to express the demonic side, the evil side. You have people who are very, rule-based, maybe even OCD, and they're very, they want to be like good people or whatever, but they use that night to like just express all these things. I mean, it's not just a night. It's like, they're decorating their houses. There's a fascination with the evil, the horror movies are a big deal. There's a whole thing Jamie Lee Curtis I was supposed to do here too, but I'll do that tomorrow. She said something about Kanye, but these people who are fascinated with this, death in a way that it's, there's some evil in it, right? Like death is a natural process, and it should be, celebrated in a way, because your soul is released, hopefully to a better place. And so it could be a celebration, but it's something to be feared. And these Babylonian hoes, right? But anyways, only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely pointing for the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.